place is a tourist site, which was founded by a man called Tetteh Quarshie, and that is the portrait we have up there.
Tetteh Quarshie. Is he your grandfather? That's awesome.
Yeah.
Almost so.
That's my.
See the resemblance. Wow.
Okay, so Tetteh Quarshie was a Ghanaian man who was from Accra. He was residing at Accra, Osu, but he was a blacksmith by profession in the year 1870. So through that year, there were some whites who were called the Basel missionaries. They came here purposely for work, and they took Tetteh Quarshie as a worker among the workers. So through the work, they had a contract to travel to Fernando Po, which is now Equatorial Guinea.
Equatorial Guinea.
Yeah. They went there in 1870 and returned in 1879, sorry. So over there, Tetteh Quarshie saw the plants that we Ghanaians, we mostly call it cocoa, but I read the Spanish man will call it cacao. So Tetteh Quarshie had an interest in it and decided to bring some back to Ghana because we were not having some here. But in those days too, it wasn't allowed to bring any planting material from other countries to your own country. So he had to go into a smuggling process. But before that, Tetteh Quarshie learned a lot about the cocoa, how the cocoa starts. Whenever it's about to start, it starts from the flower, right beneath the trunk of the tree. Then in every part of the tree, wherever you see a flower, there will be a cocoa pod. So he learned all this and decided to bring some back. So before that, he went for 6 of the ripe cocoa pods. When they are ripe, they are yellow, but when they are not ripe, it's green in color. So he went for 6 of it because he was a blacksmith. He was having a toolbox that he puts the metals inside. So he hid 6 of the ripe cocoa pods in the toolbox and arranged the tools on them nicely and made his journey back to Ghana. But in those days too, there wasn't any aeroplane for traveling. So it's either he walked through the desert or he take the ship through the sea. So Tetteh Quarshie went by the sea and it took him 6 weeks from
Smuggler. Tetteh Quarshie the smuggler.
from Equatorial Guinea to Ghana. So before you're allowed to enter the ship too, they will ask you to bring your luggages for inspection. So they did that. But because of low technology at that time, there were no scanning machines to detect that cocoa was hidden in the box. So he had the opportunity to bring cocoa to Ghana without being caught.
Is it 1 seed or?
No, I said 6 pods. This is
okay,
pod.
okay.
So 6 of the ripe beans. Yes. And in each cocoa pod, you have 1 up to 55 beans. Not less than 1 and not more than 55 too. But as we were young, we were told that Tetteh Quarshie swallowed the beans before bringing it. But it's not true. Because earlier on said a journey from Equatorial Guinea took him 6 weeks. So assuming you travel 6 weeks, doesn't mean you won't go to the washroom, which is not true. And also in our stomach, we have heat over there. So there is no way the beans can stay in our stomach.
It would have been germinated in his stomach. Because I'm why you could farm.
So it's never true that Tetteh Quarshie swallowed the beans, but rather he hid them in a toolbox and brought it here.
Okay.
Please do understand.
Disclaimer: Tetteh Quarshie never swallowed the beans. Cocoa beans.
Yeah. Okay, so right now we are in the eastern part of Ghana, but I was saying Tetteh Quarshie is from the greater part, which is Accra. So he decided to make the plantation there. But because of the climate and how the land is, the seed were not able to germinate because cocoa doesn't like a land that contains a lot of salt. And we know that Accra, that is Osu, is very much closer to the sea, and the sea contains a lot of salt. So he came back to Mampong Aburi here, acquired a piece of land, very fertile and good for the plantation of the cocoa. So since 1879, we are still having 2 of the original trees that were planted by Tetteh Quarshie in the farm, still producing cocoa.
Wow.
Yeah. It was 143 years now.
Hey.
Which is an offshoot from the ones he planted. We'll start from here. So we are in a cocoa farm right now. And I hope you can point out a cocoa tree. Yeah, this one. Okay.
This one.
It's because you've been into a cocoa farm before. Okay, I was earlier on saying that cocoa starts from a flower. So wherever you see a flower, that means a cocoa pod will develop from there. So I don't know if you can see these tiny flowers over here. There are some tiny flowers over here. They are all going to develop into a cocoa pod within some months. Yeah. So you'll be having a tiny one like this. That is how the cocoa starts. Very tiny. Then it grows into stages. Then you have a bigger pot like this one. Then for it to change from the green color to the yellow color, it takes 3 weeks. 3 weeks, then you have a ripe one like this, which is ready for harvesting. And after harvesting too, you can eat it as fruit. Before we eat the goat, sheep, cows as food. Yes, when it turns black, that is this one. That is what we use in supporting of our local black soup. Dalata samna. Yeah, that's what we use it for. So everything is sweet now. When you boil it with lime, you drink it. It detoxifies the body. It washes and cleans the body. And also, we have types of cocoa.
It's you, pa. You can talk, it's you.
We are here.
The cocoa farm. Hey.
So this is one of the original trees planted in the year 1879. And the other one.
Originality. Yeah.
And you can still see that we have some cocoa
Yeah.
ready to be turned yellow when we harvest them. So they are still bearing fruit, even though.
So when you harvest them, do you sell them yourself or?
We have a caretaker working for cocoa board over here.
Oh, okay.
So he does the harvesting, and after harvesting, we need to process it. That's the fermentation, then the drying. So after the drying, they have to take it to the market and then sell it. Then the family members of Tetteh Quarshie have their percentage in it. So they need to share whatever they get out of this place. Yeah. So we bag it in 64 kilogram bag. Then I think it's now 1,200 Ghana cedis for one bag. So imagine getting like 3 or 5 bags.
When you leave a legacy for your family.
Point where we do the fermentation and drying, but fermentation needs to be done on the floor. Yes, this is just a demonstration. That's what I'm going to do it here. But if not, I'll be doing it on the floor here. So before you do your fermentation, after harvesting your cocoa pod, you need to go in for plantain or banana leaves. The reason being that they are broad. And when you are harvesting the whole farm, you're going to get a lot of cocoa beans or cocoa pods to do the harvesting with. So you need to go in for broader leaves. When you use that of the contomere, it's not going to be suitable because you're going to be tearing all the leaves. So you need to get a leaf that is very much broad. So after going in for the leaf, just lie them on the ground. Then we open the cocoa. So we open the cocoa. So when you open it, this is how they are arranged in the pot, and they are fruity too. So you can take one, lick or suck around it. Don't bite, don't swallow too. Okay.
It's nice.
Ed.
It tastes like mango. Yeah. So after opening it up, you just need to take everything out. Okay. You just need to take everything out, put them on the leaf. It doesn't go through the base. Whenever air goes through, it's going to germinate. And for that matter, you need to plant it. But in this farm, you're not ready to plant new trees. So you just need to cover it firmly for them to do that. So for the first 3 days, you leave this in the farm. After the first 3 days, you come back, you open it up. There is a placenta that binds the beans together. So after the first 3 days, the placenta is not needed again. So you need to take the placenta out of it. So you take.
What is the placenta?
Yeah, I'm now removing it.
Hey. If this were to be a woman, I was saying.
So this is the cocoa placenta. This one can be chewed, and it can also be given to the animals I earlier on said about. So after taking the placenta, the reason why we take it on the first 3 days is that it's very much removable when you do it on the 3rd day. But on the first day, it's not going to be easy. So after taking it out, you put the beans back together in a heap form. After doing that, you need to cover it again with your sticks and stones around it. Leave it for another 3 days. When you come back to the farm, when you come back, the surface has turned from white to brown. You can see that it's now turning. Yes. So it has turned from white to brown, meaning the surface has fermented. But because it's a heap fermentation that we are doing, when you go in beneath about 4 inches, that place will be zero fermented. So you need to mix it up. So we mix it up like this, so that those at the down will come up and those at the top will go down. And after mixing, we cover it again for the last 2 days. So the process is 3, 2, 2, making 7. And in that 7 days, you need to turn the beans twice. The first one is when you are taking the placenta out. The second one is mixing it well so that all will be fermented. One is the 7th day, and the farmer gets to the farm. He or she is going to have a scent of chocolate in the farm, giving it like everything is fermented now.
So after the fermentation process, the beans are washed to remove any unwanted particles and then dried. They are usually dried using natural sunlight, after which bagged and sold.